Jehovah's Christmas by C.T. Theme. Christmas was not an occasion for significance in my parents' home. Dad, although raised as an Orthodox Jew, didn't keep up his family tradition of raising the Hanukkah bush, instead taking the label of atheist while bowing to new gods like Woody Guthrie and Leadbelly. Mom had given up Christmas for Lent after leaving the shambles of a dysfunctional Catholic upbringing for the austere minimalism of the Jehovah's Witness faith. Between the two, Mom won out when it came on how to raise the kid. Mom and Dad had a true and enduring love for each other, much due to the fact that they left alone the other's invisible means of support. Mom let Dad introduce me to places and people not generally fit for young children. In return, Dad let Mom take me to the empty Kingdom Hall, filled with nothing but people. There were no paintings, no stained glass, no statues, just dogma and determination. I wore ties at age 5, going door to door selling Watchtower and Awake magazines for 5 cents apiece. The piece on the home front came with a price I paid. It meant no birthday cake, no July 4th fireworks, no Halloween candy, no Thanksgiving turkey, and absolutely positively no Christmas. So although the home was warm with the smell of Mom's kosher pork chops, Dad's favorite, there was an empty sense at Christmas. It wasn't a tragic, tearful event like finding Santa had forgotten to put air holes in the box for the puppy. No, it was just quiet. It was dark. It was empty. No relatives argued over bad investments in Uncle Johnny's pyramid scheme. No strange incestuous instincts arose as cousins were caught under the mistletoe. And as I was an only child, there was no one with which to establish that this was, indeed, strange. I remember Christmas. It was that day without school when all the stores were closed and I had no homework. A day that was more night than day as sun faded early through thick plastic wrap covering the window, the smell of the cold, dry draft emanating through the gaps where the duct tape adhesive had froze and come undone. A time when a whole day could be spent in little more than introspection interspersed with a bath and an occasional meal. The mind allowed to wander into strange territory, imported or self-made. That is how I spent the day other people called Christmas. At the mall, my mind ready for anything in contrast to the idolatry-free zone of Witness World, I was rewarded with the bright cellophane planes of automatronic Christmas, with carols pumping in from a wavering cassette deck somewhere in the bowels of the building. I loved the plastic red bells trimmed in gold and silver tinsel, the blanket of foam rubber snow on which frostless snowmen rotated their smiling faces back and forth as if slowly saying no. But most beautiful was the music. Music I was not, under any circumstances, under penalty of divine transgression, allowed to like. It was worse than rock and roll when it came to spiritual penalties. Sing an AC/DC song, and you might get a raised eyebrow. Hum Silent Night? Be prepared for 3-hour question session with the body of elders in the back room. But I knew them all, silently and truly by heart. Never uttering a sound, I'd sing Silver Bells like Bing, or do a duet with him as David Bowie singing Little Drummer Boy. I'd belt out, deck the halls, and if thoughts had smells, there'd be the odor of eggnog and roasting chestnuts. I loved eggnog. At the time, I didn't know that it had been placed on a list of neutral holiday elements that had no particular affiliation, either with the big man in the red suit or the better man on the big cross. Like turkey in November and evergreen trees kept outside, these were things that skirted the border and were allowed in as commonplace. I wish I had known. It had smelled so good at school in the middle of all the Christmas cookies I couldn't have. I wanted to try some, but I knew it was a sin. So, a short bike ride after school found me asking the clerk at the convenience store to put that small bottle of spiritless eggnog into a brown paper sack. Then, Bike and I snuck out back of the building, poked the lid up over the edge while firmly gripping the brown paper concealing the contents. I don't know what I was afraid of. Yes, it was a small town, but not so small that there were witnesses sitting in every garbage bin, waiting to pounce on their kin just before their moments of weakness. It slid in and enveloped my mouth in full, cool, rich comfort. It hit my throat, and my esophagus opened like a willing virgin. It hit my center heart, and endorphins spilled out in warm tingles against the cold. Self-made and natural, God-trusting opiates turned such a simple act into an orgasm, private, clean, and without evidence. There were so many things I felt guilt for. This was not one of them. It was mid-August. Maybe it was the first hint of fall breeze that made for the sense of urgency, a telling wind that forewarned senses of the impending obligations of school that would send the calendar spinning into snow-filled roads when I couldn't make an expedition like this. I pumped the single gear of my red dirt bike. Going down was the easy part. Then the road crossed the ravine and began a slope up the opposite bank that would mean nothing but a slightly higher gear in a car. To my adolescent legs, it meant taking all the speed they could make on the way down, and whatever energy was left put into carrying me as far up the other side as possible till the tilt slowed me down to no more faster than I could walk. Just a bit more, just a bit more. Then I was on the other side, and again the slope carried me down across the line that divided the two towns that meant little more than a change of school districts on the map. LaSalle, Peru, Illinois shared a common history, and all the economic hardships that took the wind out of the little urban island in the vast seas of corn. Crossing over into LaSalle, the slight zigzag on red brick streets was the only clue of the out-of-sync connection between the two towns. Riding into the downtown section of LaSalle with a movie theater, dry cleaner, town hall, library, and whatever other odd-ended business still made this place a town, I passed Crazy George standing on the corner of 2nd Street and St. Vincent's. He had a baseball cap balanced upside down on top of his head, and he waved to all the passing cars while he danced a funny little two-step, like a drunken jig, smiling, twirling, and laughing, always waving. Passing drivers would honk their horns and smile and wave back. Everyone knew Crazy George, and no one knew him. "I don't need money," I heard him say to a man who offered him $1 one day as I bent down outside the theater unchaining my bike from a lamp post. "Not in it for the money," he said, with a smile. Then he danced away. That's all I ever heard Crazy George say. It's all I ever needed to. The Hallmark store was brown and gold. Walking in from the blanched heat where summer sun washes a shade of color off everything it touches like an aging coat of chrome, and into the cool dark of the store with gold-gilded glass shelves holding porcelain white kids with brown hairs for boys and yellow for girls peering up with pools of innocence for eyes. The theme changed. Cartoonish kids and insipid clowns gave way to deer, bears, and that's it. That's the one for Mom. Mom loves birds, loons, owls, but most of all, ducks. When Mom wore hippie beads and wore as not healthy necklaces like the one she kept and never wore, she had a t-shirt emblazoned with her nickname. I never knew anyone to call her Dutch, short for Duchess, which I'd sometimes heard Dad call her in their dearer moments. The writing was in medieval script, making the H look like a K, and Duck became Mom's new nickname, and the source of inspiration for most of the gifts she received from people who really didn't know her. It's perfect, I thought. It was a duck, a male mallard actually, just at takeoff from a base of porcelain grass on a rectangular porcelain base that tapered into a gold-painted pedestal. The second gift wasn't hard to find. White Shoulders was her favorite perfume. A small vial of the cologne as opposed to the perfume put it into the budget supplied by weekly lawn mowing jobs. For Dad, I moved into the masculine section. I liked the smell coming from those English leather boxes, so I carted my stash up to the counter. 1 porcelain duck, 1 small White Shoulders cologne, 1 bottle of English leather aftershave. I'm sure very handy for a man with a full beard. 1 English leather soap on a rope, wrapping paper, and the largest cards I could find. I doled out the amount requested and safely packed them into my empty backsack. Having a few dollars left, I stopped at Woolworth's to grab a root beer float and Betty Davis eyes on 45 RPM. Kim Carnes was another loophole God hadn't yet cinched. Then it was the long trek home. It was the same backpack I had with me on any other day of the week, with canteens of water and radios and flashlights and batteries and rope and a pocket knife and anything else that I might need for a summer's day adventure. I strolled right past them with the sack of goodies and into my room. With the door secured real good with a chair, I removed the bottom drawer of my dresser, which was built into an indent in the wall of my room. Under that drawer I had hidden foreign coins, interesting rocks, and pages torn from the lingerie section of a JCPenney catalog. To this I added my most recent acquisitions. That night, when I could hear Dad snoring, I removed the loot, signed and sealed the cards, wrapped and taped each present, and made labels from the leftovers that indicated very clearly which were for Mom and which were for Dad. Then each package and card was carefully stowed back in the cache, the drawer replaced. I got back into bed and felt a slightly cooler breeze coming in from the window that told me it must be near midnight. I turned the fan on from medium to high and pulled aside the thin sheet to radiate away some of the deep summer heat that blurred even the streetlights. Within a few minutes, I was deep in an uncomfortable sleep. Days spun through green to gold. Sweaters and leaf smoke air slipped into early dark evenings. Nightly frost turned to daily flakes thick and white. A semester's worth of grades came in with adequate measure, and Christmas break followed. The countdown done for all but one. On Christmas Eve, I counted down. 10, 9, 8, 7. January 3rd came. It was time to exploit that loophole I had found in the divine law. January 3rd was my parents' wedding anniversary. I had heard the story a few times already. Mom and Dad were living in blissful sin in a small basement apartment on Sheffield in Chicago in the late 60s. In the midst of a winter blizzard, Mom's parents were coming for a visit. Already committed, the formality seemed the right thing to do. Dad, racked with mono, stood before a judge downtown at the Cook County Courthouse and feverishly made his lifelong commitment, while Mom took him in sickness and in health, but starting with the former. They went home and their honeymoon was spent in that apartment, while Dad slept for 3 days till the illness began to subside. Now they slept just one night shy of their 17th year mark. Dad was snoring. Dad's snoring could be annoying, to say the least. Loud remarks from fellow riders on the Greyhound bus trip to Grandma and Grandpa's to the effect of "Someone shut that thing up," led Mom to believe that it would be best if we were to sit several rows apart in case of getting caught in the crossfire. Positioned as they were on the opposite side of the house made it tolerable with my door shut. But when it came to midnight excursions, Dad's snoring was invaluable. When sneaking around on creaking hardwood floors, the mask of his loud snorting rumbles made an impossible job easy. Timing was the key. Step on each snore, and it didn't matter if the floor bracing gave way. No one would hear it for the duration of that particular breath. Mom slept on the inside, having to cross over Dad to get out of bed and thereby send a signal of silence that she was out and about. Keep every creak, every step, in time with that auditory cover, and I would arouse no one, whether it was to sneak out through the side porch for a midnight romp, or, as in this case, execute my plan. I had already removed the drawer and pulled out all the presents wrapped in silver and white paper. I took out the cards, one for Mom, one for Dad, one for both of them. Slowly, at the pace of Dad's apnea, I carefully arranged the packages in the dining room table underneath the centerpiece, a faux Tiffany lamp that looked like a stained glass umbrella atop a patina brass tree trunk. With only the scant light from whatever filtered in from outside, I took one last look at the culmination of all these months of planning. As I lay in bed, I had the oddest sensation. It was the elation of getting away with something bad, combined with the gracious pleasure of having done something good. Something had been missing, and although not knowing what it was, or knowing that anything had been done, I had just found it and put it back. There were slightly embarrassed smiles on my parents' faces as they opened their presents that morning. Then Mom and Dad took off for an hour. They came back home with a weight set I wanted, each weight and bar wrapped in newspaper, like a little kid's first attempt at Christmas. We went out to dinner that night, together with Mom and Dad smelling like a Hallmark store. I remember little of where we went, or what we talked about, or how we said goodnight. I remember lying in bed. I don't know why, but I was thinking about Christmas. Out on the streets, Christmas trees were waiting on curbs for the garbage men to come. Wrapping paper had already been picked up. Christmas hams were now well past prime, and Christmas pictures were already developed and waiting for pickup. It was over. Christmas, that pagan holiday proven to be nowhere near Jesus' birthday, and detracting all the focus of all good Christians, had been once again survived, and all good Jehovah's Witnesses had gotten through with righteous sacrifice and endurance. Surely their presence would be waiting for them after Armageddon. But there, alone, with no one watching but Jehovah, I allowed myself one sliver of doubt. Could it be all bad? Once a year, just once a year, everyone was expected to think of someone else, whether it was how to touch the heart of a child, or what you had to get to keep that ass of an uncle from having one more thing to be pissed about. You had to think, if only for a moment, what does this person want? What does this person care about? And can I get it for them? Just once a year. What's so bad about that? Bing, in Bermuda shorts, and surrounded by adoring penguins, crooned Silent Night as I slipped into dream. You've been listening to Jehovah's Christmas by CT Theme, and enduring his banjo playing too. If you'd like to read more, please feel free to get in touch with me at cttheme, that's CTTHIEME @gmail.com. Thank you for listening.